inside the Let's Talk Sports Lounge. Thanks for tuning in.
Good evening, fight fans. Welcome to another great episode of Headkicks and Haymakers. I am Bodkins, and of course, with me is my main guy, Wit. Lots to get into. A lot of boxing tonight to get to. Obviously, Saturday afternoon, we saw Fury versus Usyk, and I got it delivered. It went all 12 rounds. At one point, saved by the bell. I mean, I don't know how he didn't go down. Usyk put him in about every corner that he could put him in, and Fury just never fell. But I thought up until that point, I thought maybe Fury in the fight, and then Usyk decided he was going to pull. That's how I scored it. I did feel like the right man won, and Usyk. Thoughts on Fury Usyk, and then talk about kind of what's next.
Bro, first of all, big shouts out to everybody tuning in. Y'all know me. I'm the resident boxing analyst. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not a professional. You know what I'm saying? But I do this with the good old eye test. You know what I'm saying? What did I see with my shades on while at home drinking a beer? And this is what I thought, man. Like, to be honest with you, Fury looked good. He looked in shape. He looked ready to fight. But the idea of Alexander Usyk coming from cruiserweight to heavyweight, making it his mission to put on a show and take over the heavyweight game, I think we were put on notice because just like you said, I pretty much scored it in Fury's favor. But the almost knockdown, the wobbles, the wobble that don't fall down, all of that stuff really played into what I think, the judges saw towards the back end of the fight, which went into Alexander Usyk's favor. I think this
came out strong, like round 1 and 2, and then Fury really was like rounds 3 through kind of like 8 almost, and then Usyk poured it on late.
And to me, you're exactly right, bro. It's like somewhere involved in what I think is would be considered like a game plan for Usyk was to, let's make it to 6, 7, and 8. Let's see how long we can stand because Fury, as we all know, Fury is not a knockout guy. He's not, feared as in saying, okay, hey, look, we're going to do this and I'm going to go knock the guy out. In a lot of the pre-fight conversations he was having, he pretty much gave Alexander the nod to say, hey, if there's a knockout in this fight, it'll be from him and it won't be from me. And I think he was being honest about not only his punching power, but the capability that Usyk has as a fighter. And if you're anything of a guy, somebody that watches some of the cruiserweight fights, Usyk was landing some huge, heavy punches on his opponents. And somewhere in there, just enough of Fury's chin was caught in I think round 9. And I think that played into 10, well, really the 11th and 12th round where, we got to see Fury, on unstable legs. He had the deer legs going on where, just like you said, he somewhat went from corner to corner. But the thing that I want everybody to pay attention to is that Fury had the knowledge, the boxing wherewithal to stand and make sure that his back was against the ropes. His whole body weight, all 6'8" of him, was leaning up against those ropes, and that he was not going down without basically having to have his entire body weight pushed forward. I think that really shows me, how much of a boxer or how much, mental strength that Fury has as a professional fighter. Somebody else would have went in there and, maybe try to defend himself, try to begin to swing wild and crazy. No, Fury did the complete opposite. He composed himself or tried to and stood the test of time against some really really tough shots, and I give him 100% credit for doing that much.
Yeah, it was the fight delivered itself. It wasn't one sided. It was a close fight. They are going to run it back in October. And we'll see what happens after that. But wait, you mentioned to me something off air. There's some controversy I had not seen. So enlighten us what that controversy could be, or what it looked to you, because I'm not aware of this until about 10 minutes ago.
Okay, so everybody knows in boxing, there's always something to keep your eye on. There's always a back door that you could probably escape through, and oftentimes you get caught in. So this fight, supposedly, Alexander Usyk, in between rounds, I think like 7 and 8, if not 7 and 8 to 8 and 9, on video while they doing the cornering, he is seen speaking to his trainer, but not necessarily in full context. And there is an object put to his face, and you can see him putting his mouth towards it, and they kind of wiping his face off, and then they go, and he gets back into the fight. The controversy was and this is probably from some of the Fury stands and some of the Fury supporters. Oh my God, he's hitting an illegal inhaler. What? That looks like an inhaler. I can't believe he would do something like that. That's cheating, which would then, of course, delegate, just dissolve the fight in itself and probably become a no contest. So as the week went on, I'm looking at stuff, I'm clicking on things, I'm watching other boxing analysts, professionals that I follow, like what's my guy's name? Hot Boxing Minute on TikTok and on Twitter. Showtime Box is on TikTok and on Twitter. They had various angles of the cornering. And if you pay attention, or if you do your research, Alexander Usyk is extremely religious, a devout Christian, and then that Russian Orthodox Catholicism is extremely built around symbolic gestures, really symbolic gestures. And supposedly in his corner, he said, or his corner man asked him, "Do you want the crucifix?" Which is the one that you see him wear. It's really big. It's really shiny. It's got a lot of diamonds in it. And he said, "Yes, give me the crucifix." You can see him nod his head, and you can't really tell, but it's like they put the towel close to him, and he kisses the crucifix, not an inhaler. And somehow, some way, the other angle makes it a little bit more obvious that he's kissing an object and not taking like a puff from an inhaler, from a nebulizer or something like that, like if you had asthma, which would give a competitive advantage to regaining your breath in a boxing match. So that was something that came out, and I thought it was wild, but I had to look at it.
I seen the inhaler part. It happened in the UFC. It was Greg Hardy. Remember?
Yeah. Yes, Greg Hardy.
He took it in the inhaler twice, I think, in between rounds.
Yeah, Greg Hardy Greg Hardy was a blatant inhaler. You can't do that. Yeah, Greg Hardy's going through a lot right now in his fight career period. So, but shouts out to Greg Hardy. But yes, Greg Hardy is notorious for having the moment in the corner where he hit the inhaler through one round, hit the inhaler in another, and they finally caught it and said, oh no, can't do that. You know what I'm saying? But in this case, Alexander Usyk, heavy into Christianity, was kissing, like how you would what you do is the crucifix, you kiss the feet of Jesus, out of respect, the hope, to maybe regain power or a thought of him watching you over you. That's what they did supposedly. When Jesus was crucified, they kissed the feet and rubbed his feet to, show support, because they couldn't pull him off the cross. And but that was what he was basically doing. And it was reported that there was a possibility that he had been hitting an inhaler, but no inhalers here, folks. Just a little outcry for your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
There we go. All right, thanks for clearing that up. What else did you think of the card itself on Saturday?
I think that we got to remember that there were several other belts that were passed on or that were on that fight card. I love the idea that the Saudis spared no expense. The fight was on from 12 in the middle of the day until about 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. You know how many fights that was? It's a lot of fights. I mean,
then they had a whole concert in the as well.
Yes, and they had a whole concert. Then I can't even lie to you, bro. I don't remember the last time I saw Lennox Lewis have a conversation. I saw so much Lennox Lewis. I was like, who is this guy? This is not, the English bruiser that I remember. But it was Lennox Lewis. It was good to see him. It was good to hear, when you think of heavyweight boxing and champions, one of the most, I think, underrated heavyweights in our time is Lennox Lewis. We always think of Tyson.
Well, I think he was like the linear champion, right?
Yes, and he beat Holyfield and Tyson. Very scary at very scary times in both of their careers. So it's a much to do to pay respect to him as well. George Foreman, another guy that we don't really get a chance to hear from. And I don't know why they don't get Big George out there to talk about fight. Everybody knows George Foreman liked to cook on the grill, but he probably loved to talk about some boxing. Get George Foreman out there. Turkey Alal Sheikh and Salam Alaikum to all my brothers in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. Speaking of Turkey Al Sheikh, he is trying to put together Bud Crawford, this Canelo, and he said he wants to do that even stateside.
To be honest with you, it's one of those situations where right now, being that Canelo just defeated Jaime Munguia, about a month ago now, Canelo Alvarez holds all the cards in about 3 divisions. He can put on 15 pounds and go for a title. He has a mandatory right now that he has to sign up for. Everybody who's a fight practitioner, likes boxing, wants to see him fight the Mexican beast, David Benavidez. But Canelo literally holds all the cards. And something I want to bring up, and if you ever get a moment, Bakins and the rest of the people watching, I want y'all to go back and look at the Jaime Munguia fight. Something that I paid attention to. Canelo is a smart man. He's a thinker. He's way beyond just boxing and being a brute. Of course, he's of Hispanic descent. There are several rounds in which I noticed through replays and things you watch on TikTok where he's got Jaime Munguia knocked out on his feet. But Canelo Alvarez is seen catching Munguia, grabbing his arm, pulling him in, talking to him. Hey, stand up. Don't fall. You get more money if you land up, you stand one more round. And he's talking to him. Jaime Munguia leans back, clasps his hands, goes back in there and gets rocked once or twice more. I think that I think the idea of compassion for a combatant is oftentimes thrown away. But Canelo Alvarez showed compassion in that.
What I mean? Canelo's also trying to put on a show.
Yeah, he's trying to put on a show, and I think Jaime Munguia reminded himself, "Hey, man, look, Floyd had me. Floyd had Canelo rocked, and Floyd caught Canelo and pushed him backwards so that he could stand up." And I remember that because I watched that fight myself, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, Floyd caught Canelo. He should have let him fall." No, Floyd said, "Look, we make way more money if you make it to this 12th round." And Canelo, I think, did the same thing. So when it comes to the Canelo and Bud Crawford fight, he already said in several interviews to him and to his team, to his camp, it doesn't make sense to him to either lose weight to fight Bud Crawford, because then if Bud beats him, then Bud Crawford beat him, he's a bigger man, now it makes more sense. Okay, but it also makes less sense for him to go, okay, let Bud Crawford come up. And then he beat Bud Crawford, and everybody go, he beat a smaller man. I think the idea is Canelo has so many cards that he can play right now. He really does. He does. I honestly think he might not fight till the end of the year, and I'm talking like November, December, because he doesn't have to do anything. He absolutely has to do nothing. He just redid his contract with the Mexican the Mexican cable company, which has full rights to all Canelo fights. You know what I'm saying? Like if you get that, if you got the like you got the DVR in Mexico and you're paying for the subscription, you can watch all the
I
Canelo
think
fights.
his
You know
next
what I'm
fight will
saying?
be Mexican Independence Day, which is in August or September, I think.
Yes, and
Because
that's what
that's
they were
usually
saying.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what they were saying. He really doesn't have to fight until the end of the year. He doesn't have to do anything. He right now he is set in the table. He's setting the table for his next fight to possibly be one of his last for whether it be for a time being or for the future. But Canelo Alvarez is the man with the plan, the money man right now in boxing. At one point in time, it was Floyd Mayweather, but right now, man, it's definitely Canelo Alvarez.
It definitely is. It'll be interesting to see where he goes. And they haven't set a date. They said October for that Fury Usyk. It'll be interesting. What do you think? I want to get back to that, and then we'll kind of move into some UFC stuff. What do you think Fury's got to do the next time out to secure the W for over? And then if it's one, then they're going to have the trilogy fight on the line.
The idea is, man, there is a line in which he has to cross that is almost outside of what Fury normally does, in my opinion, and he has to cross that line. Fury has to go into the deep water. Fury has to go and fight the fires on one of the biggest stages and say, "Hey, I'm not gonna do the normal Fury thing and piece him up." Because Usyk was getting popped, in the eye with that long jab, with that long reach, with that extended right, straight right that oftentimes Fury uses. But when Usyk got just close enough to his jaw up against the ropes in like round 8 and 9, it worked. It finally paid off. He has to go in there and kind of dominate the fight in order for there to be a conclusion that he is the better fighter, that he will outpoint him. I don't think that pointing Usyk out will be worth anybody's time. He has to beat him, decisively. It has to be pretty much no split decision in this one. He has to dominate Usyk from bell to bell. And is that possible? I don't think so. I think we got a chance to see Usyk in one of his final moments of his career, and to win, to be a unified champion in that division of heavyweights. It's a big deal, bro. It's a really big deal. And then to think about it, and then when we think about it, there are several other things, dominoes. Just boxing is always a domino effect. Nobody thinks about it, but somewhere in the background, Deontay Wilder is fighting Robert Helenius. That's about to happen in Saudi Arabia.
It's like Matrimony and some other organization. They're doing 5v5 in Saudi in a couple weeks.
Right, and then Deontay Wilder.
That's a quick turnaround for Deontay after losing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He did Helenius.
It was Christmas he lost.
Yeah, he did Helenius, and now he's got to do Zhilei Zhang, the big, and that's a huge, dangerous fight for him. Somewhere in there after Deontay Wilder lost to Joseph Parker, by unanimous decision. That was a big deal. Yeah, and Joseph Parker is a scary combatant in the heavyweight division. So, and then of course the fight of all fights that everyone will eventually want to make is who is going to fight Anthony Joshua. Which heavyweight is worth their salt to fight the English champ, one of the best boxers in the world, point blank, bar none, Anthony Joshua. And and put it all on the line, all titles, all belts, unified, whatever. Who's going to be able to do that? And that's what we are, as fight fans, looking forward to seeing in the future, especially with there being a rematch clause for Usyk and Fury.
Yeah, and maybe maybe he slides in there against one of those two. If that happens, like if they can't get the timeline right, if somebody's hurt or something, and we can't do October, and they want to do a fight in October, maybe Joshua steps in at that point in time and fights.
I mean, think about it, bro, and just to kind of give the people, the fans watching, a thought process about the boxing world. You know, we saw Crawford and Errol Spence last year. We got to see Devin Haney in a new weight class, and he shocked the world. Then we see Devin Haney take an L against Ryan Garcia, even though it's being, possibly stricken from the books based on being an illegal diuretic. I don't think that a diuretic really had that much to do with Devin Haney losing, but that's just my opinion. Then, of course, we got Frank Martin and Tank Davis, coming up as well. That is going to be an interesting fight. And then somewhere in there, we got to shake it up, and somebody has to fight Bud Crawford. Like, we're having a really good time for, some of the smaller and larger weight classes to be exchanging belts. A lot of times it doesn't happen like this, even though boxing fans really always want more. Like, UFC fans go, well, I want this guy to fight that guy. Boxing fans go all across the board, all across the world, and say these two people should fight. But some of the biggest fights and some of the biggest fighters and moneymakers have already fought one time this year. Is this a year where we see repeat fights? Tank Davis at the end of the year, Bud Crawford at the end of the year. We're definitely going to get Usyk and Fury again. Are we going to see maybe, somewhere in there? Are we going to see, what's my guy's name? I just had it in my mind. Teofimo Lopez. We're going to see Teofimo fight someone again this year. Like, there's so much that could happen, but once again, boxing has so many different sanctioning bodies and so many different camps and people that put money together. It's kind of odd that we have, even though we want more boxing, more good fights, we've had a lot, and it's only May. You know what I'm saying? It's only May, and we pretty much had one headlining pay-per-view blowout fight per month thus far.
Yeah, they're starting to slowly get it together. Let's get into the UFC here. Lerone Murphy, huge. He was kind of the most notable win on his first event against Edwin Barbosa Saturday. He beat up Edwin Barbosa. Rankings. Lerone Murphy has now entered the rankings. He was unranked going into that, and has now entered the rankings at number 11. Who do you think should be next for Lerone? He is trying to. He said today in an interview with Ariel Helwani that if his nose is not broken, he would like to get on the London card. I'm looking at the rankings. We know that same card we're getting Giga and Arnold Allen. I don't know if Josh Emmett or I think Mozart Evo has got a fight booked already too. But maybe Lerone, Bryce Mitchell's right there. Dan Ige, like that. If he's going to fight. I try to match him forward. I don't know about a guy like Cal who's coming off a loss. Maybe him and Josh, good one.
I'm in my mind is if me and you we talk about someone like gatekeepers or people that you got to see in the division eventually. Josh Emmett's up there somewhere in my mind. Just like you said, Calvin Kattar somewhere in my mind. But towards the bottom, unfortunately, someone that I thought would put on a better show based on his track record definitely was Edson Barboza, and it's the complete opposite is what we got, to be honest, So does that show that Lerone Murphy is ready to take on Arnold Allen, Mosov Evelev? Maybe so, but maybe Evelev might be too far. That's top 5. But
Allen Allen's Giga on that card. Maybe if he doesn't get on that card, maybe he fights the loser of Giga and Arnold, or especially if it's Arnold Allen. Now I don't know if they want to do two Englishmen together like that, but he's trying to get on back on that home card. And speaking of that card, Edwards was on. MMA Hour as well. And he had some things to say, pretty much like he would fight now, and then he wants to fight MSG. He even said Conor McGregor, if Conor wins. I don't think Conor's going to win, and it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I get why Leon's trying to do it. Makes money. He did say at 300 they never offered him Bilal. In fact, he said, "What about Bilal?" And the UFC said, "We're not doing that at UFC 300s." So
yeah, unfortunately, Bilal Muhammad gets looked over every time. But
I feel like it's kind of on both. But Leon even said, Bilal, nobody remembers his name. So those are some highlight stuff that's kind of happened in the UFC. But wait, I sent you this before we get up out of here. Not much to talk about. We talked about everything we needed to talk about tonight, but I said this, and I figured we could talk about it tonight. And that's Anakin posted this on Twitter. How do you release 4 knockouts? So it's the Anderson Silva not front kick of Vitor Belfort, Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman. Remember that was in the 5th round head that ended Usman's title reign. Conor McGregor over Jose, like 12 seconds or 13 seconds. The ended Jose's long reign, and then you have the UFC 300 Max and Gaethje. Let's start with number. Rank them 4 to 1. Let's rank them 4 to 1. What would you say is the least significant?
Least significant,
or number 4? Not least. I don't know if significance the word I want to say, but least.
Right. It's tough. It's tough when I think about this because an iconic moment. Let's put it like this. One of the original iconic moments, which kind of gave us a look similar to what we use for our logo, is, our guy, the Spider, and Silva's head kick was one of those where at the time, maybe we hadn't seen anybody get knocked out like that, and it's, there have been more devastating. Let's put like what I'm saying is there have been more devastating knockouts in this how the aesthetics were. But for that time to see it happen live and be repeated throughout history, I think I'll put that one as 4. That's a 4.
I kind of agree. And this fact was like we kind of knew Silva was going to beat Vitor. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a shock. It was shocking how he did it.
Yes, there we go.
You know what I mean? The result was kind of as expected type thing. You know what I mean?
Yes, and I can agree with you on that one. We kind of had the idea that it would happen, but to see how it happened is what I think was the biggest shocker.
What's your number 3?
Okay, so if I'm going number 3, this is a tougher one because somehow, some way, when I'm thinking about let me rethink it. What are the other 3 left?
Number 3
Conor?
is Conor over Jose Aldo, Edwards over Usman, and the 300 Holloway Gaethje.
Okay, so once again, this is kind of a recency bias, but what I'll do is I'll kind of switch it up for me, just for, and especially for the fans. I would say that the Leon Edwards Usman head kick is 3. It's a pressure moment. It's matter of fact, let's take that. Let's retract that. We'll put Conor at 3. Okay, we'll put Conor at 3. We'll put Conor at 3. It's because I was just about to say Leon at 3, but I got to put Conor at 3 because that was another fight in which we might not have known how it was going to happen, but we kind of put the emphasis on
to win that fight. Though I wouldn't think, you know what I mean. People didn't know Conor was going to win that.
We didn't know Conor was going to win it, but we knew that the knockout power or the ability to win the fight was in Conor's hands. Let's put it like that.
Yeah. And the way he did it, calling a shot. So that's why I actually got it hired. Number 3 to me is Max and Justin. And I say that for the simple fact that Max was winning that fight. It was a cool moment, but it wasn't really. It's for the BMF title, which I mean, it's a title, but it's not like legitimate title. You know what I mean?
Right.
And if they don't do the moment, Max still wins that fight, right? Like if he does, even if he doesn't, he was going to win that fight. Like he was up 4 rounds to none, 5 rounds to maybe 4 rounds to 1. At best. So it's not like it was a comeback. No, he just, just won the fight and then just got the cool knockout at UFC 300. So I'm gonna put that at 3. What's number 2 to you?
Now for two, I'm gonna swap it out, and I'm gonna say the Max Justin, because like you said, it was that for that one. That was we saw Max winning already. It was Gaethje, broken nose. You know what I'm saying? Gaethje had everything already in his direction, going in the wrong way, and we didn't know how it was going to end. But to see, the famous Max Holloway pointed to ground, 10 toes down, that's an iconic thing. And he's done it before, but in that style, standing on business, in that style, and in the final 2 seconds, maybe 3 seconds of the fight, if Gaethje just could have, bobbed and weaved just a little more, this fight doesn't have as much meaning towards the end. But once again, Max Holloway at a new weight class, healthier, looking better, finish it, and that for me is 2.
Number 2 is the Liana Usman, because he's down 4 rounds to 4-1 or 3-1. Really, the fight was over. I mean, it was like 12 seconds left in this fight, and then he was going to lose. And then you get Joe Anik saying that is not from which mouth he is cut from, and then the leg kick happens, and you get don't let him bully you, son.
Don't let him bully you, son.
Yes, we get, and then I'm sure you've seen the edits with the Rocky theme and the fact that his nickname's Rocky, and it ended one of the greatest title reigns in really UFC history. You know what I mean? Kamaru Usman is number 2 welterweight of all time in my eyes, outside, behind GSP. And everything that all the people he had was lapping people, and then was coming back to Leon. And Leon hit him, was really winning that fight up until, like I said, the last 12 seconds, and then put his lights out.
Bro, and I completely agree with you, but for me, for those same reasons, it's number 1. To be real, because I think we just had talked with Jay Speck, the host. Shout out to Jay Speck, our guy who hung out with us for like 2 weeks, and we talked about it. I think me and you were texting crazy, and I'm like an empathic person. You know what I'm saying? I saw the look on his face. I saw it. Leon Edwards was in despair during that fight. And literally that last round, he was like, I gotta die. Like I have to die now. And that is what he was essentially thinking. Like, in order for me to win, I have to put it all out there. And the feint, which of course Kamaru saw, but went completely the wrong way, directly into his leg, kicked his soul out of his body. Like the TikTok edits were crazy afterwards, and just like you said, the aspect that Kamaru Usman, one of the, if not top 3 welterweights ever, like you said, the reign he had on the division, the pigeonhole he literally had on everybody. It was we here on in head kicks and haymakers. We're not racist, but like it was the reign of like African champions was happening. Because
No, that's not being racist. That's just being real. It was African. They were all African.
No, we being real about it. Like, and they would show up in their traditional African garb and beat the shit out of the opponent. All of them, Francis, Kamaru, and of course Izzy, the style bender. And it was like, who was gonna break this? And then somewhere in there, Leon comes in, English guy, really, really, really tough backstory. Father was a pimp, a drug dealer, a murderer, whatever, and had nothing, came from nothing, and won in the fashion in which it will always be remembered, and has been a pretty good champ since then. Like, and in my mind, when something like that happens to every fighter, it's tough to come back from. It's tough to rebound from, and to a degree, I think Usman is still not completely rebounded from it. And I think that's why it's number one for me. Like, not only did he beat one of the greatest ever in outstanding fashion, but it's going to be remembered as the time Kamaru Usman got beat, and it changed his career as well.
So I get what you're saying, and here's why. Conor, biggest sport. Who's the biggest person in the sport in MMA?
Yeah, you got it. Hey, McGregor,
Conor McGregor, right? If he does not knock out Jose Aldo, he did. There is no, like, I'm not saying there isn't no Conor McGregor, but that, by God, that lit the torch for Conor. You know what I mean? That lit the torch for the Mystic Mac, for him to do all the things.
I predicted these things.
Yes. That lit the torch. It's not like he beat Jose Aldo, who is the greatest featherweight of all time. Maybe outside of Alex, maybe outside of Volkanovski. But Jose Aldo at the time was hadn't lost in like 4 years. You know what I mean? Like he was. They just gave the man the featherweight title because they knew he was the greatest featherweight already when they got to the UFC. So Jose Aldo was that dude, and for Conor to knock him out as quick as he did and light the world on fire, with the Conor McGregor, which took the UFC to new heights. You know what I mean? Like, these are all like great things, but for the UFC perspective and the historical aspect of what things did for the UFC would not be where it is today without Conor McGregor. So therefore, and Conor McGregor's not Conor McGregor without the knockout of Jose Aldo the way it was. So that's why I rank the Conor over Jose as, from a historical aspect, is the most important. Now, if you want to, and then if you get into like maybe the hardest one to do, I would say the bottom of the front face of the kick, Silva to Vitor Belfort, right?
Right.
Or even Usman, the Usman fight, the kick, Leon kick to Usman, is hard to do, but the front kick to the face is definitely a little bit harder, I feel like. But that's where I had it ranked. So that's a nice little fun list there we just did.
Bro, listen, and all of everybody watching, please put in the comment section which of the knockouts that we've been describing is your favorite. Which one do you think is number one? Because, hey, to me, my bro just gave y'all a great synopsis of what made UFC great, because we saw pretty much in both instances, for myself, what's number one, and for what his number one is, two guys who at the time they were coming up, they are unknown, and they changed the dynamic of the sport both times.
The landscape,
the landscape completely. Yeah. And I don't know if we ever get proper number 12 if we'll get that knockout, bro. I don't know. Just imagine no proper number 12 right now in the world, bro. I don't know.
Conor would be sleeping on no yacht. That's
man. Listen, the 3-piece suits. Would he have ever fought Floyd Mayweather? You know what I'm saying? Because you got a point. The knockout power, the idea that left hand is so deadly. Would he have? Would Floyd have conceded the idea of having them have a boxing match, which they made millions upon millions of dollars doing based on the knockout ability of Conor McGregor. Like you got a solid answer, bro. I'm definitely gonna go with you on that one. Just mine is a little better because that's what I said. But you know, but I completely agree with you, dog. That it changed the landscape of the UFC. It changed Conor McGregor's life. Changed Jose Aldo's life for sure. I'm sure it really
I mean, Jose bounced back, and you know what I mean, and is still now he's back in the rankings at bantamweight less. So, which is crazy. Before we get out of here, what you got going on the rest of the week?
Oh my God, bro! It's the NBA Eastern and Western Conference Finals. It's in the hoop time, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you know, but LTS in the hoop each and every Friday. Me, Bobby G, Alan Perez, and my boy Jay on the MIC. It's a great time to talk about some basketball, and women's hoops. The WNBA is alive and well. Everybody's beating up Caitlin Clark for some reason. Trust me. You know, I don't know if anybody knows about hazing, but it's illegal. But they are hazing. They are hazing that young lady, okay? But yes, plenty,
every screen,
every screen, every time she falls. I done seen replays of people putting their hands out, taking it back. It's a lot, but you know, women's basketball is coming to the forefront of sports media. We got to talk about it, folks. But look, Headkicks and Haymakers, this is my second home, and I'm so glad my brother Bodkins let me put my feet on the couch from time to time.
Always, brother. It's always great. I'll be back tomorrow with the LTS show. We'll obviously talk about the NBA, conference final tomorrow, and a little baseball, a little that.
Baseball.
Next Wednesday, we will preview UFC 303, headlined by the lightweight champion Islam Makhachev and none other than Dustin the Diamond Poirier. Hey, we'll be listening to some James Brown. You know, all week next week, I'm gonna be listening to James Brown. I'm gonna eat my Cajun food, my gumbo. I'm gonna be all Louisiana decked out because I want Dustin Poirier, who is paid in full in that fight next Saturday.
Paid the cost to be the boss. You know?
Hey, you know what I'm saying? So all week next week, it's the deep week. I very few people. I'm not saying I don't like Islam, but I just want. There's just DP been in this game a long time, and this is his last and final shot at it. And I just want good to happen to me. You know, it's just
listen, bro.
I want him like Rhodes in WWE. I want DP to finish his story.
Listen, man, you got me locked. You got me locked in with this one. We didn't see Dustin Poirier fall. We didn't see him rise, and this is gonna be one of those times where we want to see him go out on top if he decides to go out after this fight. And I'm sure he's ready to go all in like they do on that Bayou, baby. So I'm ready to go give me some gumbo too. Might get a little shrimp etouffee. Might get a little couple. What is it? What is it called? The balls with the food. Anyway, y'all know what I'm talking about. The
king
thing.
cake. King cake.
Yeah. Beignets. We're gonna get us some beignets.
Oh, beignets.
We're gonna eat a little crawfish. We're gonna do some shrimp. We're gonna do a little crab ball. I got some crab I need to do, so I'm gonna be ready for that one too, bro. I can't wait to talk about it with you next week.
Yeah, so we'll be back next week. UFC 303 preview. We'll break down the main card there. And other than that, be a friend, tell a friend, folks. Like, subscribe. We'll see you then. For my guy Wit, I'm Bodkins. It's been another episode of Headkicks and Haymakers. See ya next 8 o'clock Central, 9 Eastern.
Thanks so much for joining us, and until next time, let's talk sport, fans. Thanks for watching.